Hello! If you would have asked me 5 years ago if I preferred reading series or standalones, my answer would have been series. Now when I try and read series, I get stuck. There's some series that I adore that I will read in one sitting, but more often than not, I start a series and it's just mediocre and I can never finish it. But there are exceptions. There are some books that I read in the series. It's amazing. I go to read book 2 and it's the worst. Today I want to do a video about experiences I've had like that, where I read book 1 in a series and it's so good and so promising, and then the rest of it is trash. So maybe the book should have been a standalone, maybe the sequel should have been better. For whatever reason, I want to talk today about some books that are the first in a series, but they were the only good book in that series, and they deserve better than that. The first book I'm gonna discuss is Shiver by Maggie Otter. I know Maggie Otter's most recent books have kind of outshined these, but I thought Shiver was such a cute story and it had great characters and really interesting plot, and I like remember stuff from this and certain scenes I can pin down. I can talk about how much I remember loving it. There's 2 more books in this series, Linger and Forever, and I'm not kidding you, I couldn't give you one single plot point from either of these books. They were so boring. They brought in new characters that I did not care about. They were just really unnecessary spin-offs in my opinion. Whenever I was putting my new bookshelves together, I seriously debated getting rid of those 2 and just keeping this one as a standalone because I loved the first one, not so much the next 2. The next series where I only thought the first book was good is Delirium by Lauren Oliver. I loved Delirium when I read it. I know I'm like throwing it back to 2012 and 2013 booktube talking about such old series, but this book holds a really dear place in my heart because it is kind of a mediocre dystopian book about people who are not allowed to fall in love. And honestly, the main character's name is Lena. She shouldn't be allowed to fall in love. Anyone named Lena in fiction. This book I thought was so powerful, and I haven't read it since I was 16, so maybe my opinion has changed as an aged woman, but I really liked this book. And then I read book 2. Book 2, the dynamic completely changes. It goes from being a book about this girl and this guy and it's so cute and beautiful and thought-provoking to being a love triangle and they're hiding from people and it's so different, and it was I didn't like it. It revolved around a character I wanted to choke, and book 3 just kind of turned into a big mess. When I read this, I was in love with it, and then next 2 wasn't so much in love with. This next book inspired this. And whenever I think of books where only the first one was good, this is the series that comes to mind, and everyone's gonna be mad. Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Notice the picture because I got rid of this series. I'm gonna drop some steaming unpopular opinions on you right now. Cinder was the only good character in that series. I only ever cared about Cinder and Kai, and whenever it kept building characters and building characters. The last book was like 900 pages. Who read that and enjoyed it? No one. To me, Cinder was just the strongest and the most interesting character, and everyone else in the series was just like, beep boop bop, let me talk to my cute boyfriend. I only loved Cinder, and everyone else loves the rest of the series, and I can't relate, because every time I would read a next book in the series, I'd just be like, cool, where's Cinder? If that series would have been 4 books about Cinder saving the world, excellent, bomb, stellar. It wasn't. So I gave book 1 a lot of stars and the rest of them not so much. I do not doubt that if you look hard enough into my channel, you can find an audio clip of me saying that this book should have been a standalone, but let's talk. I'm bitter about book 3 for so many reasons that we don't have to get into. But if you think about it, we didn't need it. If this is gonna be a story about a girl who finds out she's different, this satisfied that, like we get it. The rest of the series just gets so exasperating. Book 2, like fine, I guess, right, book 2, but book 3 just took it to places it didn't need to be. Just like make an ending to this and call it a day. We don't have enough good dystopian standalones as it is. This could have started that. What did you do, Veronica Roth? You have ruined my trust. This is why we can't have nice things. This next book is also one that immediately comes to mind every time I think of series that went downhill. The Fifth Wave by Rick Yancey. So many people have fallen off the train on this series because they hear how bad the sequels are and they hear it's not that good. I'm here to tell you, this is a 5-star book. This book is so good. It's a dystopian, sci-fi future, like the apocalyptic, that was the word. It's an apocalyptic book that talks about like periods and cute boys and badass female characters. Like, it's so good in my 17-year-old memory. But it's, people keep unhauling this because they hear it gets bad, but listen, I haven't read book 3. I intend to. I'm probably not going to give it more than 3 stars. Book 2 was kind of a hot mess, but this book is so worth it. It's so cool. And even though book 2 goes off in, like, we don't even know what direction, this book is so interesting and so well crafted, and you have to read it. Like, read it as a standalone, I'm begging you. That was my 2 cents. This next book, I literally got rid of my sequels but kept book 1 like I was going to with Shiver because I love this book. I'm just never gonna finish the series. It's Dorothy Must Die by Danielle Page. I will probably never get rid of this book just because it's such an interesting, memorable book. I'm never gonna forget the cool concepts that this has in it. It's a Wizard of Oz retelling where Dorothy is evil, and it's so well written to the point where everything just like stuck in my memory, such powerful images. The world is cool, the magic is cool, the characters are cool, but the sequel was so boring. This just could have wrapped up in 1 book. I don't even know how many books it is now, like 4 books plus 2 novella bind-ups or something like that. Just read this and consider it a standalone. It probably has a cliffhanger that I've forgotten about, so maybe that's horrible advice, but in my opinion, it's gonna be a standalone. It's beautiful. I want it on my shelf, so we're gonna pretend, and denial is not just a river in Egypt. This next one is controversial. An Ember in the Ashes by Seba Tahir. This was on my top books of 2015 when I read it. I adored the story. The writing style is so great. The world is really cool. The characters were so dynamic and well fleshed out, and like the love dynamic between all of them I thought was so well done. I couldn't wait for the sequel. I got an arc of it at BEA and was screaming and almost peeing when I met her. I was so excited to read it. But it wasn't good. It just was so weak. And I know it's not just me because I talked to people who were like, yeah, I don't know where that went. It just turned into like a different story, and the characters weren't as cool as they were, and the world got sort of exhausted. Book 3 is coming out and I'm honestly not even excited for it anymore, which is sad. I just remembered that this book was so cool and different and powerful, and then you read book 2 and you're like, maybe book 3 will redeem the series and make it a series that just has a weak second book, but I adored this and wish I could have enjoyed the second one just as much. Okay. The final book I have to talk about is another one that I got rid of, but it's The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. I had this on my standalone shelf because I really wanted to keep it as a standalone and just told myself, Whitney, you're never gonna reread it. It was so good, but just move on. This series is about a girl who is escaping a arranged marriage. Throughout the duration of the book, 2 people are chasing her. The prince she ran away from and an assassin from an opposing kingdom trying to kill her, and you don't know who's who the entire book. Amazing thriller-ish dystopian. Not dystopian. Everything's dystopian in my head. It's 2013 again. Fantasy plot. So good. So interesting. Great characters. Loved it. Book 2, messy. Book 2, like I listened to it on audio because I was so bored reading the physical version and nothing happens. I couldn't tell you a single thing. Like I don't remember because I mentally checked out. Because the suspense of it goes away, there's nothing left. Like I stopped caring about the characters. There were no like angsty moments anymore because you don't know who's who. Like this book lost so much steam after the ending of the first one, and if it would have been a standalone, it would have been great, but it's not. So the rest of the series sucked. So that's all the books that I have to talk about today. If you have read any books in series and thought they were great and the rest were horrible, let me know about it. I kind of want to do the opposite of this video and talk about first books in series that were not so great, but then the rest of the books were good. But then the only book on that list would be Shatter Me, so. Yes, I said it. Don't sit here and act like Shatter Me was the best book in that series. I am done talking now because I did a lot of it just then. Thank you everyone for watching. I have to go clean up spilled pasta on my floor. I'm just gonna get the dog to do it. Hope you're all having a wonderful life. Thank you for watching. Adios.